Guys, welcome to 2022. To start off the year, I am going to do something a little special. Last year, about a year ago, exactly to the date, I launched a program called the Bowhunters Challenge, and we had multiple people go through that last year and do incredibly well. Some guys dropped up to 10 kilos. I was talking to a few of them the other day, and they talked about how they've just kept all of the practices and principles in place that we kind of put into sync during the program, and they talked about how much of a life changer it really has been to their lifestyle and the way that they think about things, well, how they think about health. Now, what I'm doing for January 2022 is I'm going to put a sale on the program. The big part of the sale is because I want to help some more people. Realistically, a lot of what I do is helping people. I want to help some people to do and be better in the bush. And I believe this program is one of the best ways I can help you guys to do that. I'm putting a monster sale on because I want it to be really accessible for people. This is, really, it's a pretty ludicrous sale. It's something that it's almost cheaper. Like the amount of content that you get, the amount of quality that you get from this program, if you were to put it into play, is literally a 12-week path and beyond, as you just heard, to set you up for really good lifestyle practices and make sure that you're actually getting long-term results, not just like a quick 30-day type of gig. However, I'm putting it in play because, like I said, I want to help some guys out. I know. I talk to a lot of people who say, "Hey, I need help with my health and fitness." Like when I'm out in the hills, I've got a lot of heart, but unfortunately, I just don't have the endurance, the strength, the capacity to kind of get me through and do what I want to do when I'm in the hills. I talk to a lot of people who just say, you know what, they'd like to improve their health and fitness just for their family, just for their everyday living. One of the coolest things I think that came of the challenge when I did it last year, from one of the feedback pieces I got, was one of the guys saying how much he's running circles around the young boys at work, and they used to always say to him, "Oh, come on, keep up, old man." And now he's completely running circles around them, and he's able to say it to them. I just thought it was kind of cool to have that bit of banter getting thrown around because he's improved his fitness. I want to give you guys the opportunity to do that yourself. So what I'm doing for January 2022 is taking $300 off of the total price. So, like I said, pretty crazy big difference in regards to a big sale. But it's something that I wanted to really make you guys hustle and bustle if you were interested in actually putting your health as your first kind of, I guess, point of call for this year. If you've got any form of resolutions or you've got any sort of goals around actually making your health a priority for this year, then January 2022 is a perfect time to do it. So what you have to do is when you go to bowhunterschallenge.com, it's only on the option where you'd pay for the program to be done up front. There is also 2 other payment options if you'd prefer to take that, but it will not include the discount. So if you're to take the upfront payment option, all you need to do is enter in the code Jan 2022, January 2022, Jan 2022. Let me get that very clear. Jan 2022. So if you enter in that code, that will give you a $300 discount on that one, and that is going to last up until the end of January. As soon as January hits and it finishes, that is it. This is probably one of the only times I'm going to actually go through the program with some crew this year. It's always available for you to do the program, but this is the one of the only times I'm going to do it as a cohort. Go through it together, do some more group calls and things like that. Get the thing kind of firing and functioning really well as a cohort. So if you're interested in doing that, once again, go to bowhunterschallenge.com, and you'd want to sign up for the upfront payment, and you would do code Jan 2022.
Hey there, and welcome to Becoming a Bowhunter. I'm your host, Matty, and join me and our guests as we take the quality of meat back into our own hands, searching the wild for free-ranged animals to harvest as ethically as we can. I interview a variety of specialists from the bow hunting community to help fast-track your journey as a bow hunter. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this chinwag on one of your favorite topics in the world, bow hunting.
Team, what is up? Welcome to this little solo-sode. This episode, well, first of all, Happy New Year to y'all. 2022, here we go. Let's see how we go. Let's see if we can overcome the big C. But this episode was actually recorded back in December. It was around the 10th of December, I believe. 10th to the 12th was the hunt that I went on. There's a little hunt that I did up at Glenfiddich or with Wild Country, so that's with Clark McGee and the whole setup that he's got going there. And I will actually explain that more in detail in further podcasts to come. I'm still trying to tie Clark down to get a podcast with him. It is a little bit tough because most of the time when I go up there, there's also others going up there that he needs to also look after and kind of, I guess, do his thing with them to get them into the system and whatever else. So it does make it a little bit tough to actually knuckle down time to do a podcast with him, but it will happen. We have talked about it many times, and it is something that we will get underway. But during this podcast, it was incredibly early when I did it. I think literally the first time I spoke that day was when I said hello at the start of this podcast. And so a few things just don't quite make sense, and I'm sorry, I apologize in advance to that. There's times when I say broadheads when I mean my sight. There's times when I say my sight when I mean my broadheads, and vice versa. I think I go in circles a lot about the broadheads, but that is all right. It's still enjoyable content, believe me. What I did want to do is actually give you guys the direct products that I talk about when it comes to the file and the sharpener during the podcast. So I'm just going to yell them out now. It's the Backo half round file, which is the 200mm. It's the bastard second smooth cut. If you want the exact number, file 1-210-08-1-2. And the FDIC is the FDIC 10-inch round polished sharpening steel, red handled, Butcher is what it says. So they were both on eBay. I found them, or I bought them. So the Backo half round file I paid about $24 for, or exactly $24 for. The FDIC sharpening steel I paid $79 for, and both of those have been complete game changers, as you'll hear me talk about in the podcast. So with that being said, sit back, relax, and enjoy.
Yo, what is going on? Welcome to Becoming a Bow Hunter. It is 3 o'clock in the morning. I have just left home for this little weekend hunt, and I am very excited. A little bit tired because I slept like absolute shit because of obviously having an alarm so early to hop up for. And, you know, when you set yourself an alarm like that and you're so worried that you're not going to wake up for it, you obviously then sleep like absolute crap. But this is the first time I've actually taken my podcast gear in the car and done a podcast successfully, hopefully. We'll find out, I guess. Whether you're hearing this or not will be the tell. Whilst driving. So there might be some funky noises in the background. You might hear the windscreen wipers going because it's been raining. There was massive storms last night, huge amounts of thunder and lightning. And I think there was a fair bit of waterfall up at Jimna where I'm headed to. So I've got about a 2-hour drive to the property, depending on how fast I can drive. Nah, kidding. I'll keep to the speed limit. But this week has been an interesting week because there's been a few things kind of unfold that I didn't think were going to happen. That almost caused me to not that I was never not going to go, but maybe have to go later than I expected. But it's all kind of worked out for the best, and so I'm on my way. However, this week I was shooting my bow in. I was just double checking. I got some new broadheads, and I was just shooting them in, just making sure that they were good to go. And no matter what I did with my bow, with my sight, and I'd used this type of broadhead before, the Ozcut, the Hurricanes. I'd used them before, and I knew that it was just going to be 5 clicks to the left. on my sight. So my sight is a CBE. It's a 3-pin slider, but you can pretty much the way that it works, and I think it's kind of the similar way for a lot of the newer broadheads, is that you loosen it off. You can, like, there's a part on the sight where I can loosen it off and I can move it to the left and right, just with another little clicker. And so it was 5 clicks to the left is what I had to do to be able to make it sighted in. So I did that. And it didn't sight it in. It was shooting them kind of funkily off to the left. And I was like, oh, that's really odd. I don't really know what's going on there. And I've also got some cayugas that I was shooting as well. So the pilot cuts, I have some of them, and I shot some of them just to see what was happening. And the exact same thing was happening. And I'd shoot my field points, and they would go directly where they were meant to go. And when I was watching the arrow in the air, it was like it would wing out to the side, like the arrow, the tail of the arrow would shoot off to the right, and the arrow would then hit kind of high left. And no matter what I did to the side, I'd move it like, I think I ended up moving it like, say for instance, 20 clicks instead of just the 5 clicks. And it was still shooting the exact same spot no matter what I did. And so it happened kind of one afternoon, and I was like, surely it's just me. I just must be shooting like crap today. And then went back to it then the following day and realized it wasn't just me. I was actually pretty sure it wasn't just me. But we went back to it, and I was like, how the heck has this happened? So the last time I shot my bow, I shot it clean through a pig. I got a complete pass-through using the cayugas. And I was like, okay, well, I don't really understand what is happening here. Nothing much has really changed. There's been a lot of rain. There's been a lot of heat recently. And so in my head, I was like, you know what, that must just be it. Like, outside of that, I don't really understand what could have happened. Maybe that the strings have stretched a little bit because of that, like, and that's kind of changed everything on the settings of the bow. My bow is an Elite Cure 2020 variation, so that means it's got like this technology in it, like a set technology in it, where you can change the. It's like at the what's the best way to say this? Near your limbs, you can just like kind of twist it to the left or right based on what your tail of the arrow is doing. But I didn't want to mess around with any of that stuff because when I had it last sighted in, it was completely paper tuned, which was a little over a year ago. But still, I didn't want to mess around with that too much and throw it out completely. So I ended up calling Shane from Bowhunters Domain, which is who I bought the bow from originally, and Shane came to the rescue. I just told him what was going on. I showed him over the bow. Like I didn't message him or anything. I just gave him a straight call on Instagram, gave him a straight video call, and Legend picked up and was like, "Dude, what can I help you with?" And so we pretty much just went over the bow together. And he's like, "Okay, what you're going to try to do is move your rest, your arrow rest. You're going to need to move it to the left to bring your broadheads and your arrow and your field points back in together." He's like, once you've done that, then you're going to need to rejig your sight back in line, and that will kind of give you at least a good playing field for right now. And then when you get back from this hunt this weekend, we can tune your bow back in properly and make sure that everything's kind of flying sweet. So I got to it. I moved the arrow rest, and it's got some marks on it. Pretty much, I had to go 2.5 marks to the left. It was what it took. 1.5 marks to the left. It was meant to be 2, or he kind of guesstimated it might be 2, but 1.5 to the left, which I thought was actually pretty huge a difference compared to where it was. Like remembering that. Literally the last time I used it at the end of October with broadheads, it was shooting perfectly, and to not have dropped it or done anything bizarre with it yet, here I was, kind of 6 weeks later or so, with the bow just not shooting well. So yeah, moved it 1.5 spaces essentially, and that kind of brought them back in together. And then from there, I had to maneuver my sight. And so I moved the sight pretty much as far to the left as I could. Is that right? Yes, move the sight as far to the left as I could to bring it back in, because it was obviously shooting so far to the left then, to the right then. I pretty much got it to where, as far as I could on my adjustment of my sight. And it was not anywhere near being close to being in line. So I had to actually rejig my whole sight. So I had to get in it. And luckily enough, it's very straightforward. In regards to, I didn't have to I really thought that when I was undoing it, that I was going to have to potentially even readjust the bubble. I know I'm doing a horrible job of explaining this. Remember, it's very early in the morning. But you pretty much have to square the bubble once it's on to make sure that it's actually in line. So you've got your different degrees right. And obviously, if that bubble's not square when you put it on, then you're going to have issues with lining the bubble up. There's no point actually even using the bubble if that's the case. However, with the way that the CBE is designed, I could literally just take out two of the screws in the front. I could just shuffle it across they just had holes in there, so I just moved it across by one hole, reset it, and then that was pretty much it. I just got to leave it from there, and I didn't have to rejig anything apart from doing that. And then from there, I could recenter my sight with the clicker, so recentered it, and then was able to kind of adjust it again by moving it further and getting it plugged in to where it needed to be. And so that was a bit of a shit fight, to be honest, because I just wasn't expecting it to happen. But that is what happened. So it's been one of those weeks where, this is over the process. This probably took 4 days, I think it was, to get that all done. 3 days, maybe 3 afternoons this week, just after work, and it's kind of playing on my mind the whole time. But where I'm headed to this weekend is up with Clark McGee. I'm going up to the Wild Country, part of the Ridge Group stuff. So I did sign up to that. Actually, I don't know, depending on when you've listened and what you've heard, I got gifted a membership for my 30th, which was over 2 years ago now. But we had a kid, and things just didn't kind of unpack that well until now, where I've kind of finally made it happen. But I've got a 6-month membership, and I've started it 4 months before my next child is born. So I'm pretty much trying to get out however much I can, which is not a whole heap, just because life has been life recently. And so, yeah, I'm headed on my way out up there for my second hunting trip up there, which I'm excited for. The way that Clark manages the system is that, he manages the deer pretty much. So he makes sure that there's deer year-round. He's obviously got a very set and very smart system, and something that I'm hoping to talk to him about this weekend. And what that means is that certain times a year there's deer that you can't shoot, and other times of the year there's other deer that you can shoot and can't shoot. So my understanding is, based on my mate Adam, who went up there last week, is that at the moment, because the hinds are all dropping their fawns, the hinds and the does that are there are all dropping their fawns, that hinds are completely off limits this weekend, which means it's down to the cull stags or the yearling stags, which really doesn't give you that much of a picking field. So, I mean, to be honest, my hunting methods so far have usually been hunt for whatever I can find, whereas now it's find a specific thing and hunt just for it. And I mean, there is a plethora of animals up there. There's a lot of deer and a lot of capacity. So I'm intrigued to kind of see how it plays out. I'm really intrigued to see what pops up. And I'm looking forward to hopefully bringing home a whole heap of meat, because obviously with the stag, they're going to be a much bigger animal as well. But with the cull stags, it's not just about shooting anything. It's about taking out the bad genetics. And I'll get Clark to kind of delve into it a lot more, based on some conversations that we've had on previous visits that I've had with him. So yeah, have a listen out for that next episode. Something else that I changed recently was my sharpening setup. So I have a work sharp, the little electric handheld one, and I'd use it for my knives. And first time around, I was really stoked. And then, to be honest, ever since I haven't quite been as happy. I've changed the sanding bands over, and still haven't seen kind of the same result ever since. It's really good for my kitchen knives, not so good for my hunting knives. And so I decided to. I actually already had a Japanese whetstone, so I used that. And that was great for the hunting knives. I did that. I pretty much spent kind of 15 minutes per knife just getting it ready. I've got, I think, 4 or 5 knives. So I just went through and sharpened them all up, made sure that they were kind of ready to rumble. And haven't had to touch it again since, apart from just with the with my new F-Dick sharpening tool. And so there's the 2 different parts that I've got to add to my little collection. So the F-Dick, the steel, and it's like a smooth steel. So all of the steels I've ever used previously have been like ridged or ribbed, or they have little lines all through them. Or I've used like the diamond ones before. And they just, none of them gave it as quite a good finish as what this F-Dick does. Like, it's incredible. And so this was pretty much given based off of information, I believe, that Kevy Shelf had given to Dean, old pork nuts on on Instagram, and he pretty much passed it off to me. He's like, dude, this is what Kev told me to do, so I'm going to tell you to do the same thing. It's really helped me ever since doing it. And I've just seen a great change in how easy it is to sharpen broadheads and how easy it is to sharpen my knives. So I pretty much followed suit there. So the F-Dick is great. I really love it. I think it's made the world of difference just having a really good steel. And I think it was all of like $30 or something. Like, it is still super cheap. The other thing that I got was the I think the Bacho, BACHO, file, and I got the half round one. I can't remember. If you want specifics, then feel free to hit me up on Instagram, and I'll tell you what I actually got. Once again, it was like all of $20 to $30 for this file. And it's really made a world of difference when it comes to how easy it is to actually get the job done when actually applying it to the broadheads. That's obviously not for the knives whatsoever. It is just for the broadheads, and it's been really good. It was interesting during the time when I was going through the processes to figure out what I was going to use for sharpening tools. I hit up Scott, and I'm buckling on what Scott's last name is, Reynolds, and he actually creates knives, and he's a knife maker. I know that he actually does even days where you can go out and you can create a knife with him and stuff. He's an absolute gun when it comes to his knives, and his knives are really pretty. And so I was talking to him, and I just said, man, what do you do for sharpening? And I'm pretty sure he said that he went through the process of using the stone, but he said, as a beginner, this is something that I would recommend. And it was essentially, there is a proper brand name for it and stuff, but essentially it's a kit where you lock the knife into place, and you've got a sliding stone that you can go across, but it's hooked in via a metal rod. So the actual angle that you get is the exact same, and you just drag it across the knife the whole time. So that was interesting. That might be something that eventually I look at getting. I don't know. I kind of feel like the stone has been plenty enough for me, and that will be the answer moving forward. The biggest thing is depending on how sturdy your hands are. I know that mine is definitely a little bit dodgy in regards to the consistency of the angle of the of the edge of the knife, but it's still been good. So yeah, that's kind of been the few transitions and changes that I've made recently to gear. I got on to be honest, in regards to broadheads, I've got 3 sets of different broadheads now, and I'm kind of playing with all of them. I don't really have a favorite yet, and I think that's why I'm still kind of jumping between them. One of the most annoying things is that I've got a Cayuga broadhead stuck in my freaking target. So every once in a while, I forget where it's actually placed because I've got one of the hexagon Reinhardt targets. So every once in a while, I will just forget where the broadhead is stuck in there, and I will shoot and unfortunately ruin my broadheads, which is frustrating as all buggery. But with that being said, I'm still playing with a few different ones to kind of figure out what I like, what's the easiest for sharpening. And yeah, I'm intrigued by the whole thing. I put my first and only deer down with the bow with the Oscut with the Hurricanes, and I really liked what that did as a kill shot, the wound channel it made and everything. And I've put down a fair chunk of pigs with the old Cayugas, some with the bleeders, some without, and have once again liked what it has done. So I'm kind of here nor there. Yeah, I've also got some outbacks, which I actually really like, and it's something that I've used on the goats quite a lot, but never actually used for the deer or pigs. And I like that they are just so simple and effective. Realistically, it's just 2-blade. It's single bevel, so it's easy to shave back and have sharp. Yeah, a pointy broadhead with a wide base to them. So I kind of like the simplicity of it, but also the effectiveness of it based on the goats that I was able to put down with it. So I've kind of got a stash of each ready to rumble and ready to play with. So yeah, I'm playing again with the Oscuts this weekend. I might play around with the Outbacks again next time I go out, but I'm really kind of not sure there. I guess I'll just play and see what happens. Right now, the biggest thing, I guess, is getting out and getting this weekend, going for the hunt, and then going and getting my bow actually retuned in is going to be the next goal, because I think pretty much it's either time. Oh, my strings are actually they're decent, right? Like, so it's been maybe a year of using. I can't remember when I got my bow. I think it was maybe like September last year. So probably looking at roughly like 14 months of using the same bow strings, and they're having like the littlest bit of fraying now. So I know some people just like to change their strings every year. I'm going to take them to Shane and get him just to have a look over it. He reckons that they might just need a quick twist, and that will probably kind of sort out the actual problem as to what's happened with the bow. But at the same time, if I need to, I'll buy some new strings, I guess. Yeah. So realistically, that's kind of, I guess, my short-term plan. This is, what date is it? We're like December 10th, maybe. And so this is, I think, the second last hunt I'm going to get to go on probably this year. Very fortunate that one of the listeners of the podcast actually reached out and said, "Yo, I've got a block close by Brisbane. Would you be keen to come out with me and my mate? There's red deer access on there, and it's a big block, like big enough block with lots and lots of opportunities. Would you be happy to come along?" And so I was like, heck yes. I would love that. Thank you so much. And so the hardest thing has been trying to find time, because this time of year, trying to organize 3 guys with with obviously 3 different schedules is always interesting. And so we've finally found a night it's literally in that gap between the Christmas New Year break. So we're going to get away and have a little hunt there. So that this weekend and that is going to be the last 2 little hunts that I get on for the year. And then hopefully I'll probably get out for 1 to 2 more hunts in the new year before our baby is born. Our little daughter is born. So, yeah, I think realistically, I feel really positive right now. I think I constantly have a pretty positive outlook and attitude in general. But I do have a good feeling about this weekend. Yeah, I have a good feeling about hunting in general, to be honest. Anytime I go hunting, I'm feeling good. So I'm sure you can relate to that, being that you're listening to this, obviously, because you're intrigued or loving hunting yourself. So, yeah, I think pretty much I'm blabbering right now. Hopefully I'll kind of piece this together. I'll have maybe some hunt stories to tell you on the way home, on the drive home. But I think this is kind of a good one to say, let's keep it short and sweet. And I look forward to kind of updating you with hopefully some more podcasts with Clark, some more podcasts with some of the weekend ventures that go on, some of the successes, some of the failures, hopefully mainly successes. And yeah, that will come obviously in the coming weeks. So peace out. Thank you for listening. I hope you're doing well. Hope you're getting out hunting. And most of all, I hope you have a Merry Christmas, a very safe one. Yeah, I was about to go down a rabbit hole, but I don't need to do that. So Merry Christmas, y'all. That wraps up this week's episode. Thank you so much for joining us, team. If you did have any topics, questions, or you wanted to suggest a guest for Becoming a Bowhunter, you can send me an email at matty@becomingabowhunter.com. If you are enjoying the show or you've enjoyed in particular episodes, please do me a solid and share it around with your friends. If you are not already, please hit the subscribe button, as the more subscribers we get, the higher the podcast gets ranked, and that definitely helps out for showing it to other individuals. If you are not already following me on Instagram, it's at becomingabowhunter.podcast, and on YouTube, it's Becoming a Bowhunter. Get out, team, fling some arrows, get that practice in, and walk those yards in the paddocks until you find those critters. That is it for now, but not the last time that you'll hear from Becoming a Bowhunter.